Live and direct from anywhere in the world, it's The Kelley Show with Dr. Kelley Mondesire. You must be waiting with bated breath for the second installment of The Kelley Show, the interview between Shelley Ann Quilty and Dr. Kelley herself. I'm excited. You're excited. I think we should just get on with it, don't you? It's going to be great. The best is yet to come.
Where in the world are you presently?
Well, I relocated recently to sunny South Carolina, where we have a large Irish community. So you'll have to come down. You'll be with the brothers and sisters here. But also, now that I have a large kitchen, I bake bread. So that's one of the things I love to do. This is a Paul Hollywood milk bread recipe. So Paul Hollywood, I'm sure he'll have something to say about what's wrong with it, but I'll tell you, it was good going down.
It is beautiful. Yeah, that will bring me down south for sure. Your bread alone.
Huh.
Wow. And are these other things, so aside from baking, are these pictures capturing, I did say you were a Renaissance woman, but it looks like you are on the hobby front as well. Could you describe what is depicted here? And do these pictures reflect your hobbies?
They reflect some of my hobbies, not all of them. I do play golf. A lot of people don't believe me when I say I do play golf. They think I'm joking, but that's me doing my golf thing. I will indulge in archery from time to time. I do a lot of clay and skeet shooting. And now that I'm down in the South, I'll probably start doing some quail hunting. And now that I'm down in the South, that's actually my trainer. He's a former Marine. He's like Brutus, from Popeye. The dude is big, but he's a real sweetheart. But they had these classes, and I decided, in my experience, I've had one shotgun and two semis pointed at my head on 3 different occasions, and I wanted to see what it was like to be on the other side of the muzzle. So I took the class and I passed the class with flying colors, but I love to fly fish and deep sea fishing. That was taken in the Catskills, I think, the fly fishing photo, but the deep sea fishing was off the Keys. And the reason why I love fishing is
it in Florida?
Yeah, Key West, yeah. And I could care less if I catch anything or not. It's being out there in nature with the water, contemplating everything and nothing at the same time. It's just very, very relaxing.
Is that you shooting?
Yeah, that's me with my trainer.
That's Brutus? Okay.
That's actually in South Carolina. That's actually at a donated former plantation for veterans. Mm-hmm. So they and their families can go out. They can have picnics. They can have parties. The vets can continue practicing their skills. They have clay shooting. They have many, many different programs for the veterans. So this class was all part and parcel of that program that they provide. And it's a really, really great outdoor and indoor facility where the veterans and their families can go for recreation and otherwise.
So many know you as Dr. Kelley Mondesire. What drew you to medicine?
Yeah, I always wanted to be a doctor when I was a little girl, but I didn't grow up in an environment where that really would have been possible. So after 22 years of being in the television business and having done just about everything you can do and awards and this and that and the other thing, and I went on a yoga retreat to Costa Rica with a boatload of ladies, all very, very successful women. And the only thing we had in common was our yoga teacher, because she taught at different facilities. And one night we got together to introduce ourselves. And one was like you, she saved the day for many people. Another one was a fashion designer. Another one did this. And they got to me and I said what I did. And everybody, of course, went, ooh, TV. And I said, well, I feel like a failure. And they said, why? And I said, well, you get people out of jail. You save people from, this and this, people wearing your clothes. Me, I'll spend 90 hours on 4 seconds of animation for a commercial. And at the last minute, something happens and the client has to pull the spot because, either salmonella, E. coli, whatever it is. And I said, no one knows I did it. No one watches the credits. And if I say, oh, did you see that it was on the Super Bowl? Oh, no, I got up to pee. What did you do at the end of the day? So my yoga teacher said, have you ever thought about medicine? And I said, yeah, but, I'm at an age now. I was 39 at the time. Well, she said, have you ever thought about Chinese medicine? And I said, how did you know that? Because I had torn a calf muscle about 2 years prior, and it was acupuncture that got me back into the ring in less than 3 months. It was extraordinary. So by the time we sat around and talked for a few more hours, I went home, and within 2 weeks, I had done my due diligence because I've got OCD about that. And I enrolled in Pacific College of Oriental Medicine, it was called at the time. And I went through 5 years full time, learning both Eastern and Western medicine, both Eastern and Western pharmacology. And I came out on the other side with a master's in traditional Chinese medicine. We also included with that have like a bachelor's of biosciences, and Western biosciences included in that one. Yeah. And I opened up a private practice on Wall Street. And the photo on the top left is when I first began. People talk about imposter syndrome. Every morning when I would put on my lab coat and button, I would say, it's showtime, because, it was time to be
the TV background.
This very serious doctor, And so, I had the who's who of Wall Street and politics and professional athletes and celebrities, all those types of people. But
who are you to set up your practice, by the way, in Wall Street specifically?
Because I originally set up in Soho, and we had that first financial crash. So I had many clients from Bear Stearns and Merrill, and that put the kibosh on the neighborhood because they all lived in Soho and this and this. But so I went down to Wall Street, and I had just purchased a condo that was a mixed use building. So I set up shop on 15 Broad Street, right outside the New York Stock Exchange. And I said, come on down. And it worked. My specialties at the time, I was trained at a Memorial Sloan in oncology, but also I love sports med, because having been in the ring, it was like beat 'em up, fix 'em up was my motto for a while. So I had a lot of athletes. And here in this photo, I'm actually sewing together a rectus diastasis.
Is it the third picture?
Yeah. You'll see I've got a patient on the table.
Yeah.
And a rectus diastasis is when the muscles of the rectus abdominis kind of pull away from each other. This happens quite often in childbirth, postpartum. And there's a technique that we use in sports med that I then applied to this. And I was doing a video and demonstration for other healthcare professionals and doctors that, you got to see it to believe it kind of thing. And after they saw it, they believed it and, referred patients to me. But, and that was now that was a later photo, professional photo taken of me in the lab coat. And then the photo of me in the mask and the mask and the mask and the shield and the screen was during COVID. And that was a real terrible time in New York City.
It was heinous. And where were you in New York City, and whereabouts in New York City?
I was trapped like a rat, like the rest of us here in Manhattan. And the governor shut down every single private practice for months on end. It was a very large community in Wall Street that either went out of business, retired, sold their practice to the hospitals, because Wall Street rolled up and never came back. It's still not the same. But that was just me saying hi. And after we didn't need the masks anymore, I was in, I of course, with sports med, you've got pelvic floor conditions that happen with athletes. But I was known with urogynecologists and urologists for my work in pelvic floor treatments. And so one day we were having this meeting of constituents, and it was getting a little bit too serious. So I picked up this is made out of plastic. It's a replica of the pelvic floor. And to me, it looked like the alien from that movie Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I just put it up to my face mid-conversation and I went, "Take me to your leader." And of course, everybody cracks up because they can't believe they're in this serious meeting. And I just put this on my head. I was like, man, this is a good Halloween costume.
And you've got a pelvis on your head.
Did I look at it? I mean, it looks like, Predator. Yeah.
It
Put
does.
a couple ones on that and you're all set,
I presume you'll be taking it out when it comes to Halloween.
Not my own. Maybe the plastic model.
So, Dr. Kelley, you were saying about being feeling like a mutt growing up. What was it that made you decide to dive more into your Irish roots and ancestry?
Way back in the day, I had the opportunity to obtain my Irish citizenship, or did I want the Italian citizenship? At the time, my 6 aunties were still alive. Well, if you want to get paperwork from 6 Italian aunties, forget it. So the paperwork and the route to the Irish...
And they were your mother's sisters, right?
Yeah, they were my mother's sisters, and they would fight like cats and dogs all the time. I don't know. But anyway, it was easier for me to go the Irish route because I wanted my EU citizenship. And because my Irish grandmother was in Ireland during a time where it was under British occupation, I suppose, I had the option also of obtaining British citizenship as well. And I said, no, I just want the Irish citizenship. And I converted it. Of course, we were in the EU. And I was always very proud to be a European citizen and an Irish citizen. And of course, my home away from home is Provence in France. And I always thought I'd be going back home to Provence. But during COVID,
Ireland's very close, as you well know, to France.
Oh, yeah, I know. But, during COVID, I started to talk to my mother about the Irish side of the family, which no one ever talked about. And my parents always used to love to go to Ireland. They went every year. My mother was everything Irish. She was Italian, but she always wanted to be Irish. So I started to dig deep into my Irish roots. And I asked my brother at one point, I said, geez, I wanted to go back to Ireland. And I called the consulate up about inquiring about the digital medical passport that they had, the digital. Yeah. But they wouldn't give it to me because I didn't have a residence back in the motherland. But they said, hey, are you part of the Irish Business Organization? I said, what's that? I said, I've never heard of it. And I'm on the mailing list, and of the consulate. And so they told me. So I said to my brother, what do you think? And being shy that I actually am, he said, oh, just go. You'll make friends. And wouldn't you know, I went.
Well, your brother was right there. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's at the same time I started White Wolf Advisory. And wouldn't you know, at the Bank of Ireland that night, there was a full moon. It was serendipitous.
A sign.
And I met you, and I met Paula Finnegan, and I was welcomed. And for the first time in my life, I was welcomed as an Irishman. Irish woman, Irish citizen. I was truly welcomed into a group and embraced in the group. And I got to know so much about my culture and my history. And so I got involved. As you know, you can't shut me up.
Yes, you did. I love that. You're a member of the tribe, but you jumped right in. And
and I love the people. I love the culture, and it's my heritage. It's what's in my DNA. And I realized by talking to the other members, I had so much more in common. The way we think, the way we react, our mindset. It's very much Irish. I became a member of the advisory board, as you know, of the IBO. And this past St. Patrick's Day, I was asked to be the personal escort to Alan Mulrooney, who's the gentleman in the middle of that photograph there. And that's Gareth Hargadden, who we know is the vice consul of the New York City consulate. And I worked the Kelley magic, and I got Alan to the mayor's breakfast at Gracie Mansion. We carted him off then to the mass at St. Patrick's Cathedral, where I got this handsome guy to pose with me. But the highlight of my day was Billy the dog. They've got these huge Irish wolfhounds dressed up at the doors. The center
He's beautiful. You could saddle him up and off you go. Yeah.
They had to wipe the lipstick off of him when I was finished with Billy the dog.
I'd say Billy was disappointed by that.
Oh, he was a sweetheart. But anyways, you know, so Alan and his wife, his lovely wife, I got them to the Yale Club. They marched with us in the advisory board lineup for the parade, the after parties, and it was really wonderful, and it made me feel so good to give back to the organization and also to my country, which is Ireland. You know, I always consider myself European first, American second. The Americans might not like to hear that, but I'm more European than American in my habits and otherwise. But I'm very proud. And one of the reasons why I moved down here to the Savannah area is because there's a huge Irish population and community down here because of the trade bridge. Unbeknownst to me, I never knew. Who knew? Way back in the day, almost all of the stone that you see in Savannah came from Southeast Ireland. And they had trade going back and forth. We all thought it was because
of Southeast Ireland. I'm like, it could well have come from Wexford and Waterford.
And it did indeed. It did indeed. And I always thought it was because, you know, of the indentured servants that got sent over to the States to die in the rice paddies. No, because Southeast corner of Ireland has all the stones. So they would trade the tobacco and rice or whatever with, and this. So there's all this commerce going on for years and years. And a few years back, they revived it, and it's called the Trade Bridge down here. And Savannah has the second largest St. Patrick's Day parade in the United States outside of New York City. So I'm kind of like,
heard that. I've heard it's amazing.
They do Irish month. They do St. Patrick's month. They color the fountains in green. So I'm going to be a busy beaver this March between Savannah and New York City because I can't ignore my peeps back up in the Big Apple. But we celebrated our 50th.
We must call you back like sirens anyways.
Yeah. We celebrated our 50th gala with the Irish Business Organization this year. That's me on the far corner. That was a lot of fun. And as I said, I'm proud to be Irish. I'm proud that I'm so involved and I love it. And I'm part of the gang. You know,
well, the feeling is mutual. We're very honored that you're a member of the tribe.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah. So looking forward, as you appear to be here, where are you for this particular photo, Kelley?
This is a selfie I took with my Canon AE1 program. And this was taken in, I think it was 1998, maybe. It was taken in the south of France, just outside Marseille. And there's a story to this, and this is where I'm going. I have many more adventures and stories to tell. I've not even told. This photo I took of myself before I was literally tossed off a ferry that was bound for Corsica. I was on the wrong ferry, and they tossed me onto the pier in the port of Marseille. So it's another story for another time, but I've got a lot of adventures to partake in, and my bucket list trip is to ride they have these small motorcycles, like 325, 350s, because you can't ride anything larger, but going from Kathmandu through Nepal and seeing the Himalayas from the back of a motorcycle.
That sounds extraordinary.
And my friends say, well, what happens if you go over the cliff? I said, well, if heaven will have me back, it's a shorter trip. If hell is going to take me, it's a longer way down. But I'm telling you, those two dudes, they still can't decide who's going to take me. So I can't die. I'm stuck here.
Actually, that reminds me, you have a motto, don't you? And could you tell the viewers and listeners what that motto is?
Heaven doesn't want me, and hell's afraid I'm going to take over. So I'm stuck here with the rest of you idiots. So let's have fun.
Good words to live by. If you could choose, who or what are you most grateful for?
Well, as you can see from the photos, I am very grateful to my mother, Margaret, because, you know, she was an incredibly gifted, talented, beautiful, strong woman. I always used to say, you think I'm crazy, you should see my mother. She makes me look like Tinkerbell. She was ahead of her time. She should have been born when we were born. There's a story behind that photo, but that's for another time. But I adopted Suki.
That's your mother in the bottom left, right?
Yes. And that's my Suki. I adopted Suki after she had been bounced from pillow to post 7 different homes. And that's our adoption day, me hugging her in the overalls. But Suki became my constant companion, my best friend. And she was a therapy dog. So every month I would take a photo in front of the office building, which is right outside the stock exchange, as you can see. And she'd wear a different hat for the month. And I did a blog. It was called Nurse Suki Says, S-E-Z. And she would write an article from the dog's point of view of buggers in the nose. It's cold season. What do you do? And it was a lot of fun. And my patients loved it. What happened was, I wanted to create a calendar for my mother that year of, you know, Suki's photos. But about 9 hours later and a bottle of wine later, I came up with this book. Nurse Suki Says, Woofs of Wisdom for Nurse Dog of Wall Street. And every month it was written from the dog's point of view of being the nurse dog within Dr. Kelley's clinic. It's a lot of fun, but it has a lot of messages to it. Deals with cancer and allergies and blood pressure and migraines, everything that I would see in the clinic. And that's me and Suki about 6 years before she passed. She was a free spirit. She woke up every day with, let's go. You know, she ran 5 miles with me every morning when I trained for my fights, and then laid down like she was ready to die while I jumped rope for an hour. And all the tourists coming by would say, oh, the poor dog, and curse me out. But I'm most grateful and thankful for Suki, because Suki came into my life when I had some of my saddest days. And people said, don't take the dog. It's not a good time. And I said, no, she needs some love. And Suki gave me back my sense of humor. And when she passed at 15 and a half, I was inconsolable. And what was worse was everyone that came to the clinic, all my patients would say, where's Suki? Where's Suki? And cried on my shoulders. So I had to put out a notice that I was shutting down for 2 weeks because I couldn't take it anymore. And it took me a good 10 years to kind of sort of think about getting another dog. But I thought I lost my sense of humor when Suki passed. But every time I talk about her, I smile, because how could you not? We had so many different adventures together, and she was my sense of humor. But Suki showed love, and everyone that met Suki smiled, and they could be in the meanest of moods, but they would see my Suki and they would just lighten up. And she was a constant reminder that life is joyous, it's playful, it's innocent. And all you have to do is give love, some place to sleep, and something to eat to anybody, whether it be a dog or a human, for them to feel safe, loved, and give back. And so that's my Suki.
How beautiful. It's like she found her forever home. But like you said, Dr. Kelley, she also gave so much to you and to your patients and everyone else who she came into contact with.
Yeah, she would just sit next to them and let them pet her. If they cried because they had been just told they had 4th stage cancer and a month to live, she would just sit there and let them hug her. You know, she was just an amazing dog. She was very naughty, very, very naughty.
When she wasn't working as the nurse.
Yes, but when she was at work, she was very well behaved. And interestingly enough, I had her on different herbs, and I didn't go with chemo because she had a tumor.
She had cancer herself.
Yeah, and I treated her as much as I could. But my patients would say months after, we never wanted to say anything, but Suki would have gas, and she would lay under the table when she was sick. And I would say, well, why didn't you say something when I came into the room? They said, we didn't have the heart. She was so nice. So she would have constant flatulence laying on the table.
I love it. Because, you think of the stereotypical, someone farts and they're like, oh, it was the dog, except for it actually was Suki in this instance.
It was Suki. You can't make it up.
But that's the respect that she commanded, that no one was saying anything.
Yeah. And they paid me for it too.
Money well spent.
Yeah.
To be in her company.
Well, Shelley, I got to take it over from here. I want to thank you for being my host today. And we might have to split this up in part A and part B, but I hope you'll come back on because I think you're a great MC. And folks, this was not rehearsed. So Shelley really did put me into the, what do you call this? The witness box? Jesus.
Witness box, the hot seat. Yes.
Yeah, I'm sweating like a pig here. But anyways, thank you so much, Shelley. I'll see you soon, I hope, my friend, and come down and visit me while you're at it. Okay. And if you would like to be a guest on a future Kelley show, you might not after hearing who I am, but hopefully you will. We have all the information down here. Email me at The Kelley Show and tell me who you are, where in the world you are, why you want to be on The Kelley Show, and the story you have to tell. And folks, stay tuned because next week is our season finale where we're going to wrap the season up, wrap out 2024, and we're doing a recap. You don't want to miss this. It's a really great show. I promise I'll zip my lips. Stay tuned. Subscribe to The Kelley Show. The information is below. And for now, thank you for listening to some of my crazy, nutty stories. And peace and love. Gareth, take it away.
If you would like to be a guest on The Kelley Show, send us an email with your contact information, where in the world you are, and a brief description of the story you'd like to share today.